Okay. Just have to send out the new link if anyone's watching. Had some technical difficulties. Almost done. I don't know if anyone's watching, but okay. So I know that the Hangout's on. I'll go ahead and start reading. Namaste. Welcome to the Advaita channel. I'm Devi reading from the Essence of the Ribhu Gita. It is an English translation provided by Professor N.R. Krishnamurti Iyer. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right away. And we'll just start. I'm on page 7. Chapter 15, verse 7 is for, and it doesn't go from verse to verse, and so it's pulling the most direct verses from each chapter is what this essence is. And so we'll start. The total discarding of the mind is alone victory, achievement, bliss, yoga, wisdom, and liberation. The sacrifice of the mind is, in fact, the totality of all sacred sacrifices. This is something that we've, in satsang, we've really all been struggling, I think, or most of us struggling with the mind. And this is so perfect for all of us here. And I'm going to read it again. The total discarding of the mind is alone victory, achievement, bliss, yoga, wisdom, and liberation. The sacrifice of the mind is, in fact, the totality of all sacred sacrifices. Yeah, that's really the gist of it. The mind is what's keeping everything going. The firm denial of the existence of the mind and the firm belief in the existence of Brahman self is the sure way to the conquest of mind, leading to the experience of the soul effulgent self. Chapter 15, verse 11. The first one was chapter 15, verse 7. If one gives the slightest room for the thought that the mind exists, pure awareness itself will vibrate as the ruffled mind, which is the parent of all trouble and illusions. Therefore, one should ever abide in the conviction that there is no mind, and that the pure awareness self is the sole existence. This is the easy way to conquer the mind with all its vagaries. So what I think it's saying here, this first sentence is important, I think, for us to understand. It says, if one gives the slightest room for the thought that the mind exists, pure awareness itself will vibrate as the ruffled mind, which is the parent of all trouble and illusion. So just the slightest room for thought that the mind exists, our true nature as pure awareness will begin to vibrate as the ruffled mind. So in essence, we are creating the mind through thought. Therefore, one should ever abide in the conviction that there is no mind, and that the pure awareness self is the sole existence. This is the easy way to conquer the mind with all its vagaries. Chapter 15, verse 12. There is no such thing as the troublesome mind, no world of names and forms, not the least bit of ego. All these are nothing but the perfect Brahman self, which I am. In this conviction, one should abide firmly until one achieves the state of sleepless sleep, which is alert peace eternal. Chapter 16, verse 7. And if you're new, the verses are listed after the verse, not before. So the next section is titled The True Samadhi. To hold on to the conviction born of self-inquiry that I am no doubt the screen, Brahman self, and the world picture thereon, though evanescent, is no doubt I am self only. And to abide still and blissful in that conviction is the acme of all sadhanas. Like divine worship, charitable gifts, spiritual austerities, mantra japa, and samadhi as well. I'm going to read this again because part of this is in parentheses and it gets a little bit confusing the way I'm reading it. It doesn't sound like I'm reading it very clearly. It says, to hold on to the conviction born of self-inquiry that, apostrophe, I am no doubt the screen, Brahman self, and the world picture thereon, though evanescent, is no doubt I am self End quote. And to abide still and blissful in that conviction is the acme of all sadhanas, like divine worship, charitable gifts, spiritual austerities, mantra japa, and samadhi as well. Chapter 16, verse 41. It said the Ribhu Gita is flowing from the true self through the original form that wrote it, and that it's speaking as and to us as our own true form. So when you're hearing these words, hear them as yourself, because that's what it's speaking to. The self alone is the spontaneous, self-effulgent awareness. That alone is eternal bliss. That alone is existence everlasting. That alone is all-embracing perfection, the soul Godhead without a rival, and the sole primordial stuff of the universe. In the conviction born of this experience, one should ever abide as the soul I am, the Supreme Self. Chapter 17, verse 29. Page 8. The next section is titled Sahaja Samadhi. Remaining alertly aware and thought-free, with a still mind devoid of differentiation of self and non-self, even while being engaged in the activities of worldly life, is called the state of Sahaja Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the natural state of abidance in the self when all differentiation has ceased. This is called Akandakara. This is called Akandakara Vritti, the I of infinite perfection, as contrasted with the I am the body notion of those who have not realized the self. Akandakara Vritti, the I of infinite perfection, as contrasted with the I am the body notion of those who have not realized the self. Chapter 18, verse 40. Next is maturing of Sahaja Samadhi. Abidance in Sahaja Samadhi is the hallmark of a Jivan Mukta. With progressive development towards this state, an intensity of blissful peace is attained, leading on to the 4 successive stages of perfection in Samadhi. Nothing short of this Sahaja Samadhi will be of any avail in destroying the fearsome cycle of births and deaths. Chapter 18, verse 41. That realized person who abides in the Brahman self and has lost all feelings of differentiation of self and non-self is the Jnani or Mukta Purusha. Such a Jnani is rare to find, even by searching among millions of people. If one has the lucky opportunity of getting his darshan, which is personal view and contact, one attains purification from all his sins, and what is more, such a person's ego gets liquidated at once. Chapter 19, verse 10. Darshan of the matured jnani constitutes the acme of purification of baths taken in sacred waters, divine worship, mantra japa, spiritual austerities, charitable acts, and devotional worship of Lord Shiva himself. To find and to gain access to the sacred presence of such a jnani is the luckiest of opportunities that one could ever obtain in this world. Chapter 19, verse 11. Worshipful service rendered unto such a jnani Satguru quickens one's spiritual wisdom to attain the bliss of Jivan Mukti. If continued further, it bestows on the disciple even the status of Videha Mukti. Therefore, if one is keen on being released from bondage into the freedom of mukti, the one infallible means of achieving that aim is the loving and worshipful service of the Jnani Sat Guru. Chapter 19, verse 13. Firmly established in the self, undisturbed by the least ripple of thought, as still as an idol of stone or wood, dissolved completely in Brahman self, even as water is in milk, with awareness devoid of all impurities of thought and drowsiness, standing clear as the pure sky, the grandeur of the Jnani Nishta, firm stance in the self, defies thought and expression. So Jnani's Nishta, firm stance in the self is what that means. I'm going to read this again. And it's chapter 19, verse 21. Firmly established in the self, undisturbed by the least ripple of thought, as still as an idol of stone or wood, dissolved completely in Brahman self, even as water is in milk, with awareness devoid of all impurities of thought and drowsiness, standing clear as the pure sky, the grandeur of the Jnani's Nishta, defies thought and expression. That's beautiful. Chapter 19, verse 21. I think I'll end here because the next section begins a new, it looks like a new chapter maybe, or new section, and it's quite long, and I want to be able to read the whole thing. So I'm going to finish here for today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence, and I'll finish with a dedication to the masters. Om Shri Satguru Anantaji Ki Jai. Om Satguru Mujiji Ki Jai. Om Satguru Sangha Ki Jai. Namaste. Thank you.